welcome to Classical Schmassical, the anti-classical classical music podcast. Tune in every Saturday as we discuss, deconstruct, and dissect what it means to be a musician in the modern world. And what I mean by every Saturday is whatever Saturday I feel like it. I'm your host, Alexa Letourneau. I use any pronouns, and our guests this week, myself included for the first time, are the members of Mosaic Composers Collective. Hi, friends.
Howdy.
Yeah, so just as we get started, why don't we kind of go around and introduce ourselves?
Hi, everyone. I'm Aidan. I'm a Mosaic Composer Collective member and composer. I use he/they pronouns, and I'm super excited to be with you today. So, yeah.
Woo!
Hi everyone. I'm Murphy Severtson. I use they/them pronouns. I am a Mosaic Composers Collective composer and also member. And it's super exciting to be here.
Hey, I am Ashton Brown. I am obviously a Mosaic Composers Collective member. I'm a composer. I'm a cellist. I love to do interdisciplinary things, and I love to play my cello like it's not necessarily a cello. I also use they/them pronouns.
Hello, my name is Kevin Arthur Jr. I am another Mosaic Composer Collective composer, and I enjoy writing music that have been inspired and influenced by jazz and gospel. And yeah.
Hi, I'm Naamia Rivera. I'm also a member of the Mosaic Composers Collective. I use they/them pronouns as well, and I am also a flutist. I love to do like higher things with composition and flute, writing original flute music, and also writing about like social issues like that are happening in the world.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. It's so exciting to have you all here. I mean, if you listen to my podcast, you sort of know me, but like, I guess I'm sort of also a guest in addition to a host for the first time ever. So yeah, I'm Alexa. You know that. I said that at the top. I'm also a flutist in addition to being a Mosaic Composers Collective composer, or MOCOCO, since Mosaic Composers Collective is like a whole lot of syllables. So, yeah, and I'm really excited to explore the collective nature of art with you all. Because I think it's something that, especially as composers, we don't get that a lot, especially with other composers, which kind of brings me to my first question, which is, what does it mean to you all to be a member of a collective? What does that look like? Or what, I know it's a very new collective, but how do you see this kind of shaping the way that you interact, or what does it look like for you?
I think that I've watched collectives have a lot of weight in a positive way in the music community, especially in New York, where we're all based. It's, I mean, a lot of the artists that I've worked with that I've really respected and that I have felt really had themselves together and felt confident in that space were part of a collective in some way, shape, or form. I think it's a way to ensure that someone has your back. Someone's there to promote your work in addition to theirs. Someone's there to defend and back you up if you may need it at some point. It's your home base, and I think it's really important for especially composers who are on this solo endeavor journey into art all the time to have a home base, like a collective of people that they trust and respect and can rely on to, give them the best space possible to continue creating and exploring.
Yeah, that's really lovely.
I agree. I believe that it's a place where you can find shared responsibility. You can find trust, you build trust. you're relying on your peers, your friends, and other composers who also have a lot of experience, and you guys kind of build off of each other. I think it pushes you even closer towards professionalism as an individual, while also being able to really grow your voice through the music of your fellows.
I think composition and music making is so isolating. It can be really isolating because I mean you really just need to like sit down and write your music sometimes. And I think that often we can get a little, I think especially in like the Western classical tradition, there's this myth of the composer as the individual and the, you know, the singular genius. And I think that that's actually a really harmful sort of stereotype, because I love to learn. And I think that that's what I'm most excited about in this group, is that I think I can learn so much from my peers.
Yeah, I agree with like everything that's being said so far. Working with like such different composers, but like having the same mission is like another reason why I'm so glad to like find these composers, and it's a really cool thing to be able to premiere our music instead of just like my music, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whenever I think of Mosaic, and I guess as a collective as well, I think of individual tiles coming together to kind of form a greater work of art. And while each one is, you know, a color in and of itself, when they come together, it's something truly magical, and you can get these beautiful murals that it boggles the mind, really. And that's what I think is the strength of our collective as well. We are those tiles. We come together, and I'm so excited to show what we can produce.
Yeah, I found a lot of truth in all of your answers. I know for me, like, I've always found composing to be something that I really, really enjoyed doing, but at the same time, it is kind of lonely. And it's weird having to like promote your own work so much. It's a huge skill, and it's not one that I think anybody feels comfortable doing. But like, I love promoting my friends' work. So I think that in a very like superficial level, almost like, it's fun being in a collective, because like I have 5 people whose work I fully stand behind. I think you're all really excellent musicians and creators and collaborators, and I can promote your work, and like I know that the feeling is mutual, which is kind of great. um and I also I have pulled up here our mission statement, which I think is really important for the audience to hear, because I think that it so beautifully encapsulates everything we're about, and fosters inclusion without being too exclusive, which is really challenging. And it's our mission statement is Mosaic Composers Collective, featuring Kevin Arthur Jr., Aidan Arbona, Naamia Rivera, Murphy Severtson, Alexa Letourneau, and Ashton Brown, is a gathering of composers in pursuit of an intimate yet fearless sound exploration of humanity's many colorful spheres. Centered in curiosity, the collective strives to create and curate that which challenges the world around them. And I remember reading this mission statement for the first time, and I was like, hell yeah, that's what I want to be about. And I just really appreciate having a community that also wants to be about that, and also having words to put to that feeling. Because I know that I had never like quantified that before. I was just like, I like making art, and there are aspects of the world that I don't like, and those two things I'm gonna go swoosh, and hopefully that works. But like, this is a really great centering document for me personally. And Aidan already started to talk about this a little bit, but what does mosaic like mean to each of you? I remember like coming up with a name was really tricky, and this one kind of seemed to click for a lot of people. So I'm curious if anybody has anything to add to that, to Aidan's lovely sort of analysis of it.
I mean, I think when we were... Hi, sorry for his presence. He will scream.
There's been a lot of cats on the podcast. Don't even worry.
This is better than him screaming at the door, so he's here. I think when we were talking about our names, we ran into the issue of none of us have similar styles or similar approaches to how we write music. I mean, maybe similar in some ways. I'd say we could be way more different than we are, but I think that our differences, our different life experiences, our different beliefs about what art and music, what that even is, are part of what makes us who we are. And we wanted to capture that difference rather than trying to necessarily find a similarity to focus on. We thought that would have maybe been detrimental in a way to our vision, which so much includes our difference. And mosaics as a form of art contain a lot of small pieces, lots of different colors, lots of different shapes. That you are a menace. Lots of different colors and lots of different shapes that come into a whole thing that is big and beautiful and impressive and fun to look at. But it's also fun, if you go up to some big mosaic on a brick wall and look at the small things that someone took the time to put together as a part of this big whole. And there's strength in the individual small artistic pieces as well as in the larger scheme, the larger picture. And so that I think is a huge part of our vision as well, is that we have every one of us creates such beautiful, intricate, marvelous art, and that can only be emphasized by us being together. And that's not in our collective action is not a detriment to our individual art, but it's like a loudspeaker to all of the things that we can do as individuals.
Yeah, that's really lovely. I was just sitting here thinking about the extent of this metaphor, and I really appreciate it. And one thing that popped into my mind too was how in some forms of mosaic are square tiles, and that's how it's created. But there's also a lot that have different shapes. And I was thinking about how cool it is to think about the idea that like we're all shaped in such a way that we fit together well, but there is still like this glue holding it together. And I think that that's a really cool idea as well, because I don't know, you're filling in each other's gaps in a really cool and beautiful way. And I think that also speaks to, like you were saying, we have different like life experiences and different experience levels and different artistic outpourings, but we all still get to like learn from each other and take on mentorship and mentee roles in all sorts of different ways. And like I'm really excited by that. And I think that also is really encapsulated with the name, for me at least.
The mortar glue, whatever whatever you want to call it, I think also speaks to the amount of work that we've put into being this collective. I think that there's a misconception that being a cohort of any time is something that you just do, that you just like, we're all going to be friends now and we're going to make art together. But there's so much more that goes into that behind the scenes that audience members don't necessarily see. The pieces will fall off of the mosaic and be on the ground by themselves again if the work isn't done to put them together. And there's been a tremendous amount of work that has gone into making this collective happen, from filing for a fiscal sponsorship with the field, which we do now have. So if you want to donate, your donations to the collective and our future projects are tax deductible now. You can write us off on your taxes.
Amazing.
Little blip there. To doing fundraising, making videos about the pieces that are coming up so that you know what's going to happen, which will be out soon. And we spent an hour taking new headshots for everyone that went together in a very Mosaic way, really.
Very Mosaic.
Planning the fits, planning the scenery, that even that was its own little stressor. And you know, getting performers to play works is a huge thing too. Like being a collective, having an output that the public can access and enjoy, even for just an hour or two on a Friday night, is a tremendous amount of work. And that's the glue that makes this mosaic the thing that people can see and admire and enjoy the artistic output of. But you know, glue is work, glue is difficult, and it's a constant spiraling learning process that we're really excited to continue embarking on, because you know, we do it because we love it, and we're continuing to love it even more.
Yeah, that's really beautifully put.
It's also a catchy name, and it's
That
easy
too.
to
No complaints.
like
We have yet to hear a
brand
single
and
complaint.
merchandise and
Stay put
like
for
long
the
term.
merch drop, you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if we were the Ennui Collective, it'd be like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's all you know, just trying to like make sure that we're like making something that we can be proud of and is easy to remember.
Side note, the Ennui Collective actually slaps though.
That, yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Offshoot.
Hey,
French.
listen, Mococo every day, all day, but Ennui is a close second.
Noted.
Maybe third.
Anyway, no name changes. Okay, we made the logos.
We already have a website. We can't change the name now.
Yeah. Or we gotta make t-shirts, right? We gotta make t-shirts.
Totally. So we've talked a lot about like the way that our collective sort of came together and functions and fits together. But I'm also curious to know how you each perceive your sort of, you know, for extending the metaphor, your style. Like, what is your description of your compositional style or voice, or how do you perceive your own art?
It's kind of hard to put into words since I'm still kind of figuring that out.
It's hard to put into words for me now.
Yeah,
as like
I don't know if I'll ever be able to put into words, being honest. I know that I am, for now, a predominantly tonal composer. I like to focus more so on harmony and melody, rather than like, I guess, more like rhythmic aspects. I try to create a vibe with my music, if that makes sense. Like I try to create like a space that people can like fall into when they listen to my music. I try to write music that can touch the heart, not even in like a super sentimental way, but even just like in any capacity, like music that people can feel. And I want music that can also, I want music that has a range, that can be interpreted in many different ways. I also do not really like to interpret my own music because I feel like that is, I mean, I like it. I like putting that responsibility on the listener, because I can really, I guess, make it more personal. It can, you know, everyone hears
Kevin
something.
said, you have to do the work.
Basically, I feel like it can enhance the experience when you are like applying your own life to what you're listening to. And so that's kind of like, I guess, a description of like my focus when I'm writing and my goals when I finish a piece.
Cool.
I am also still trying to figure out my composition style too. But yeah, I would say for me, I try to think of my compositions as like more of like a story. Like I always love to think of the titles and the storyline before I write, just like to get my how am I gonna get my message out there? And like, and then I figure out the instrumentation and like what instruments like really like speak to that story, match my story. And like, and so I try to go off that and try to create melodies that like really encapsulate that mood and the story I'm trying to tell. And I also want to like, for like compositions, like for allow that to like for listeners to create their own story while listening to my music.
Mhm.
So like it's just like, you know, like to get my story out there and to listen to like what other people like, how they, after they listening to my pieces, how they interpreted my music. It like really like, it really makes me happy like hearing their interpretation of my music.
Yeah, cool.
I think something I'm hearing a lot of from Naamia and Kevin, like with regard to, you know, what makes us a collective and what maybe binds us together in a like a compositional way is like a certain level of authenticity
Mm.
and like this is my music, I'm standing behind it, what do you think, you know? And I think that that's such a healthy way to go about, you know, like thinking about music and being like vulnerable as an artist. I think composers feel a lot of pressure. I know I did when I was young. I feel a lot of pressure to like have a voice and be heard and
When you were young. We're
well
all sorry.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I guess when I was Nami and Kevin's age, which feels like a long time ago because like a lot of stuff has happened since then.
Mhm. No, I'm
And a
just
lot of
teasing you, you know
personal,
that.
yeah, totally. But a lot of personal, I feel like a lot of personal growth has happened in like just being like, okay, I'm interested in this. I want to say it this way. I'm going to do my best to make it a clear message and piece of music.
Mhm.
And that's it. That's all anyone can do. And I feel like as we're growing as a group of musicians and composers, supporting each other to that end, I think is going to be really wonderful for us.
Mm.
Um, because it's like I think inherently uh our music is different. Our music is original and like our voices do need to be heard, right? But also in just sort of grappling with an authentic piece of music and just presenting something without any sort of like I don't know insecurity and like a full sort of full uh muscled like I believe in this and I have people behind me that also believe in this. I think that's the greatest strength of this group and like just being willing to be not only vulnerable but also authentic and I
Mm.
think that's what matters to me as a composer.
I think
Yeah.
really something in us all being like under the age of 25, in that we have so much discovery to go through still. Um, we all know relatively little compared to so many other professionals in the space. And I think that that era of discovery and excitement, the kind of I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going, is going to be nostalgic for a lot of our older audience members and encouraging for the ones that are our age and younger that, oh, hey, I remember doing this. I remember being this kind of an artist, this kind of a younger artist, or I could be this kind of a younger artist. Like, if they can do it, I can do it too. And I think that space is going to be so welcoming and encouraging for so many of the players and audiences that we encounter. And I think we hope for that to be the case. That we kind of want our concerts to feel like a living room, like you walk in and you are welcome there, and we want you to have a good time. We want you to feel comfortable. We want you to feel like you belong there. And that's a huge part of our upcoming concert on the 16th and of the future concerts that we'll put on as well.
Yeah.
I hate to bring old dead white guys into the discussion, but if there's anything I've learned from Stravinsky, it's that you you will spend your entire life growing and changing. I mean, look at all of his work, look at the work of composers before us, and look at us now, because I can guarantee you all of us have changed as composers significantly, even in the past 6 months. And that's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful thing to get to experience that and to listen to it happen in real time as we all diverge from each other, but also are all influenced by each other equally as much. Uh, I had to describe what my music is. It's crack cocaine. Uh, like upper. You get that? It's a celebration, but it's also, you know, deeply traumatized and
bad for you.
traumatizing and horrible for you. Yeah, horrible for you. Yeah, if you listen to too much of my music, you will die.
I really love all those descriptors, and I think that it speaks a lot to like that I've found a really cool group to be a collective with, because we're still very much getting to know each other, and I was really moved by all of that. And also thought it was really hilarious to me personally, just because like I don't believe any of you have ever read my like research paper on compositional voice and style. You like set up like basically bullet points that I have in that paper, like perfect. Which also brings me to my next question. What?
That's your one where you talk about compositional style is kind of bullshit, right? Where like
Yeah,
you're
kinda.
so much where like it's not a real thing, but
Well, yes and no. Listen, this is going to become my dissertation. So like we don't have this.
yes and no.
If we get me on this topic, if this is going to be a 4-hour long episode, and I know nobody wants that. But I am curious as to all of your interpretations as to what compositional voice is to you. And the thing that I think is incorrect is identifying one idea of compositional voice that fits everybody, which is part of why I think it's a fun conversation to have. But I know one of the things that I examined really closely is who determines a composer's, heavy air quotes, voice. Is it the composer, or is it the listener, or is it decided in collaboration? And I think as a collective that does sort of stand behind our music, put it out there, and see what the audience thinks, I think that's a really big question for me personally to think about in relationship with this collective. I'm curious if anyone has like insight or initial thoughts on that idea.
I actually was having a really interesting question with my good friend Nicholas Tran about this very concept that listening is extremely subjective, and people's the way that you listen to something isn't necessarily something that you choose. Every part of your identity, whether that be, you know, your gender, your queerness, your life experiences, your age, the people around you, all of those are determining factors in the things that you hear and the things that you pay attention to when you listen. And I think that that is something we all have to reckon with when we write. We don't get to choose what people hear when they listen. There are going to be people that absolutely love our music because that is who they are. And there are going to be people who absolutely abhor our music because that is who they are and the way that they listen. We can't make people listen the way that each of us do, and I think it would be horrible to expect everyone to listen to something in the same way. That would defeat the purpose of creating art in you know, in any way. And I mean that makes a really interesting space for the peace of mind that is going to be on this program in particular, because in a way I I did want to try and control that, and eventually I learned that I couldn't. It's not possible to control the listening experience. My piece, Feminiscence #1, is the first of a series that I am going through, very slowly, very meticulously, because it is a difficult series, is about the feminine experience in our world. And it is a very disruptive, very angry piece in a lot of ways, especially this first one. I would not be surprised, and if some audience members don't feel comfortable listening to it, in which case they're absolutely welcome to step out during that part of the concert and come back later, because it's a lot to reckon with. It was very hard to write, and it's going to be hard to listen to for some people. And the one, and I was not. There are some audiences that I'm afraid of listening to that piece. There are some often masculine presences I've had in my life that I don't want them to hear this piece, but I don't get to control whether or not they eventually do, because of how intimate this piece is, how personal, how furious. I think that our internal anger, our internal frustrations, the pain and difficulty that we all hold inside, is one of the most intimate parts of ourselves to trust someone with. And that's what I'm doing to the audience on this recital with this piece. There's a lot of trust that I'm handing them, and that's hard. So the one condition that I did attach to this piece is that it should only ever be performed by people who have experienced womanhood in some way, whether you have always been a woman, or whether womanhood came to you later in life or earlier in life and has no longer. So long as that experience has been a part of your life, this piece is for you, because I can guarantee you've experienced the pain that exists in this piece and the pure and unbridled fury that exists in this piece, about things in our world that have refused to change for such a long time and maybe will never. That's in the piece description too. This piece is for those who have experienced womanhood, and it is not for anyone else except for those people. And I think it's okay for art to be exclusive sometimes. That's a very it's an interesting line. It's a kind of a gray line to say that, because people are always like, oh, art's for everybody, but I don't think that all kinds of art are for everyone. This piece that is going to be on the program is not for everyone, and that's a hill I'm willing to die on. And I think that artists should be okay dying on some hills like that, of like, I created this art for people with this experience, and I want to share that experience with them and with myself. And maybe some people shouldn't necessarily engage so much with this work. I think that's okay. I think that should be encouraged, actually.
Yeah. Is that notion related to your idea of your own compositional voice? If you think that you have one of those, because I know some people don't.
I think right now it is. That isn't to say that it won't, that it will always be, but I think that queer sisterhood, which is very much a thing, is a huge part of my identity, and my constant internal battle with feminine energy as a whole is a huge part of how I create. It's inextricable from who I am. It's inextricable from what I create because of that. I will never be able to create anything that isn't permeated with feminine energy. And that's something that I struggle with, because I think in some ways feminine art this is kind of my soapbox, has been rejected in artistic spaces in the past, and was for a very long time. And nowadays it has a place, but it's still seen as a lesser place. And that is a huge infuriating thing to reckon with. And I go back and forth between wanting to fight that battle and wanting to try and hunt all of the femininity out of my music and never write anything that contains that energy ever again, so that it will be easier for me. And that is impossible. I think I can speak for a lot of this collective in saying that is impossible, and that's hard. And so I'm very happy to have people in this collective who have similar experiences to me in that respect, who are queer and have spent a lot of time in feminine spaces, being seen as a feminine person, and what that does to your artistic psyche, which is a lot. It does a lot. And how do you go about reckoning with that? That's my whole question when I'm creating art right now. And I hope that one day I'll find a concrete answer to that. But there's also part of me that I think knows that there isn't a concrete answer, and it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be developing. That's a really long depiction of what I'm doing and what I'm thinking when I create, but it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of fight, and sometimes I have more fight in me than other times, and that's okay too. That's okay for any artist.
Yeah. I think that's really, really beautiful. And don't feel bad about having a long answer. Does anybody else have anything they want to add on to that in terms of voice or your perception of your own work or anything like that?
I feel like if I were to try to approach this question with the compositional voice, because I don't really think I can answer it fully, but
I mean, I'm 100 pages of research deep and I haven't answered it even close to it. So it's fine.
It's like a never-ending journey.
Oh, no.
But I can kind of talk about my thought process with writing. I've noticed that I never want to write in a typical way that I've seen. I always like to approach instruments in a way that they haven't been approached before, which is also why I believe that in the future I will end up doing more abstract music and kind of like stepping into the atonal world. But even where I am right now, I love the idea of just like stepping outside of the set boundaries of an instrument and displaying its true capacities and capabilities. I have been inspired by so many composers in like the last few months. And I've been inspired to basically not be afraid to write what I want and how I want it. Because even though I do feel a sense of pride in what I write, there still is the thoughts in the back of my head, like, but like, is this the right thing to put down? Is this correct? And there really is no such thing as correct writing.
Yeah.
And so basically, I've been trying to remind myself every time I write that I do have freedom in my writing. I do have freedom in my pen, you know, and that I'm writing for the world, but I'm also writing for myself, you know? So basically being completely open to all of my ideas without automatically shutting it down, or the voice in the back of my head shutting it down saying, this really won't go well, or this won't, you know, this isn't what people are doing. I'm not doing what people are doing, you know? And that's also, again, why I love this collective, because we're not doing what each other are doing. Like, we're all so different, but like, that's kind of like what drives us towards each other and also towards our individuality. That's kind of like what I think about. I think about making sure that I am not following the status quo just because that's like the right thing to do.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, what Kevin said, like, just reminded me of like about developing my compositional voice, I went to the past summer Boston University Tanglewood Institute, and it was a very intense like program. And it's like my first day, I was really intimidated by like all the teachers saying, "Oh, you're not here to like have, this is not like a summer camp, typical summer camp. You're here to work like every day." Like, because we had to write a piece like every week. The majority of the people there were like, I was the only, let's just say I was the only Black, like feminine looking person there
Mhm.
in the composition program. So that really intimidated me. I was like, oh, what am I doing? I would question like every day, like, oh, what I'm doing here, like what I'm, these composers won like tons of competitions, and I had been composing only for like what, only 3 years. So like, what am I even doing here? And like through my teacher, learning from my teachers, the teachers there, and like getting to write in such a short period of time, like taught me like that to develop my compositional voice, I have to just go for it. Like, I just have to like, whatever I thinking in my head, even if it sounds like completely bad, I just have to write it down.
Yeah.
I have to get it down, and like, just like, it like taught me to like take risks, like to not care about what, I'm not writing for them. I'm not writing for a bunch of men. I'm
Yeah.
writing for myself, like for like all the audiences out there, the target audience that I want to write for. And so that's how yeah.
That's really, really awesome sentiment. And also I think that's like the goal of like figuring yourself out as a composer, is learning to write for yourself.
They've got it down.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
18 and they've got it down.
I mean, I'm still working on it, bestie. Like, woof.
I feel like the most important thing you can ever realize as a composer is you succeeded in writing a piece when it makes you feel something as a composer. And I used to think that had to be you liking a piece. But you don't have to like your own piece. You could hate your own piece. As long as that is a strong emotion you have for it, then you've done your job well as a composer.
You'd hate it, but you'd still sell it to someone.
Yeah, I have works that I don't like, as I wouldn't listen to them. I really don't like to hear them, but I still really stand behind them as artistic expression. So I think that's really a cool thing to bring up, and not something that a lot of people talk about, for sure.
Yeah, you don't know how many times I've like gone back to my like first works and I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
I've had that
100%.
exact same experience, and I think we all have. And I think one thing that helped me get over that like intense cringe, looking back on your work and not liking your old stuff, means that you have grown as an artist, and that is such a good thing.
We talked about that. Me and Alexa had this 2-hour drive to Connecticut last week, and we talked a lot about this concept of growth and how, unfortunately, growth entails you hating the things that you did when you were younger and being like, oh my God, I can't believe that I handed this work to someone and thought that it was good.
Yeah.
But that means that, you could go back to the people that knew you then and say, look how far I've come, and they would be excited for you. And I think that's something to think too. Don't apologize for the you that people used to know, because it's created the you that exists now. It was your catalyst, and
Right.
your own catalyst.
Yeah, and like I look at the pieces that I applied to Manus with for my master's, which is now 3 years gone at this point when I was doing that application. And I look at it and I go, ew, like I showed this to people and they let me into this school. I don't think that I wouldn't have not let me in, but I also look at it and I'm like, I don't know. Like, and I look at the pieces that I applied to my undergrad with, and like I had this conversation with a high school senior this summer that I was at a festival with, and he had written this amazing piece and had this incredible performance of it, and the performers made some mistakes, which was unfortunate. They're still amazing performers, but there were some errors in the performance recording. And this high school senior came to me and he was like, I don't even know if I can use these in my application to schools. And I was like, okay, well, here's what I applied with. There's no articulations or dynamics in it, and much of it is impossible to play. And I also had a MIDI recording that didn't do a good job with it. And one of the pieces I applied with, I wrote the night before, and has never seen the light of day since. It did the job of getting me where I needed to be. So, I'm really happy that I wrote that piece. I'm never, ever want it performed, but it served a function, and it set me on the path that I've come to. Like, none of my pieces that I've written since would maybe exist without that piece having existed first. So.
We didn't talk about which tile you and me and Murphy are.
No, we didn't. My tile, I think, is writing music that I want to hear, and I like taking music that I love listening to from all sorts of genres. Right now, the big three that I kind of pull from are like Renaissance, like early Renaissance, and like new music, chamber music, and also like pop punk. And I go smush, and I see what comes out, and then I edit from. That's how I compose right now, and that's how I've always composed. Is I steal liberally from all sorts of places, smush, and then put my own pizzazz in it.
I think that I am the productive anger tile, useful anger tile. Oh yeah, anger doesn't have to be useful, but I think that I am writing music that I hope allows audiences to feel what they need to feel and put it in what they're listening and feel just a little bit better about it. Because we have to feel everything. We can't just like shove all of the things we don't want to feel into a pit and assume that it won't come back out at some point. And so I want to provide a space for audiences to let it out. Particularly, audiences that have lived the feminine experience right now, or a queer experience. Lots of very queer music. And I draw a lot from textures. I have come to really love percussive spaces. I think that and I think that any instrument can be a percussion instrument if you try hard enough. Which
if you believe.
If you believe in your ability to hit something, all of your dreams will come true. That's the music that I'm writing right now. It's not the music I've always written, and it may not be the music that I always write, but that's what's happening right now, and I think that it's super badass, and really excited to show it to the world.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd write music.
And isn't that just it at the end of the day? We have to put all these words to it, but like that kind of sucks to have to describe your own stuff. But
yeah, no, I think that one of the things that I was thinking about that I was like, yeah, I want to say this, is that I do feel a certain amount of responsibility to three sort of people. I feel like a responsibility to my audience, to myself, and then I also feel a pretty big responsibility to my performers. I love writing for people that I like and love, and I love writing for people who have not played in a really long time, like family members, and like writing for them and about them. I always feel that I am only able to write so much to a point, and then someone else has to finish it. Because I'm not a performer, and if I were, I think I would feel very differently about this. And I really try not to feel so much ownership over my pieces of music. And I always think of it as like a 3-part pie graph, and it's just like, so for this piece on this concert that's coming up, I wrote this one for me. I got deep in the weeds of thinking about mangrove trees, and I was like, oh, I need to write about this, and I need to do research, and I need to do this, and I need to do this, because I like couldn't not do that, you know? But for another piece that is also about mangrove trees that I wrote for high school band, I export the parts and I'm like, oh, this bass clarinetist is going to be bored if I don't switch some things around. And you know, it's like, that's not always how I think about it, certainly, but I think about the, like, what are people who are playing my music thinking about me? Woof. Well, wait a second, maybe that might be dangerous. But I think that like there's some really good like thought processes and things that I try to do in thinking about as many different people who are like engaging with my music. Like, sorry, is my audio weird?
It's not weird, it's just different.
Yeah, it changed like in the middle of your sentence.
Just died.
Oh.
So I can put my other one in.
No, you're good. You're good.
I think it sounds better, actually.
Yeah, the audio got clearer.
Okay.
Way better.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's just, I think it's just about like, what is the space that I'm cultivating?
Mm-hmm.
It reconnected, so I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
What is the space I'm cultivating, and what do I want people to take away from the space? And like, how can I best serve the people that I love? I think that's what it's really about. Like, I love making music with people that I love.
Murph is the wholesome tile.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I was saying, like I know we're sort of wrapping up. We all have lives that we need to go and get to. One reason for that being the concert that we have coming up, which is so exciting. And I just want to briefly talk about it because I think that this is going to be a really exciting time. So yeah, our collective's debut concert is next Friday from when this episode premieres, December 16th at 7:30 p.m. at the Domena Center in New York City. And never fear, if you are not in New York City, we will also have a live stream that is all available. So you should definitely go and come and check us out. I think it's going to be a really, really stellar concert. We have some incredibly exciting musicians who are so talented. I should say performers. I hate the distinction when people make musicians and composers. We're all musicians. We have incredible performers playing our pieces, and it's been such a joy to collaborate with them. And I think that we're all going to be just absolutely thrilled. I think that it's going to be a not miss concert. And so you should definitely, you can go and check that out. You can find more information at our website, mosaiccomposers.com/events, or you can just check out the whole website while you're there. But as we are closing up, briefly, can you each share what you are most excited about for this concert? And if there's anything else coming up that you'd like to promote, please feel free to do that as well. Just as a little, what are you looking forward to with this concert?
I'm really excited to see who's going to come and who we get to share these pieces with. There's some great people I haven't seen in a while who I live embarrassingly close to who are going to be at the concert, and I'm really excited to show all of these pieces to them, show them what we've been up to, and invite them to be a part of it in the future as well.
Cool.
I cannot wait to hear how my piece turns out and how everyone in the collective's pieces turns out. Like we have like professional musicians that are like performers that are gigging like all the time now.
Yeah.
And so like I'm so excited to hear how they like get to like play these pieces. And yeah.
And everybody should be super hyped because Naamia's piece has a harp. We have a phenomenal harpist, and everybody loves hearing a harp. And Naamia wrote for it very, very well. So you should all come into here. Just come for the harp, stay for everybody else's too. But that's why we're here.
Yes.
I agree with Naamia. I'm excited for these professional musicians to bring our pieces to life. I'm excited to just hear it like just come alive. And I'm also excited for who's coming and networking. And also, this is my first concert of the semester of my college life. So, like, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Bro, I'm just excited. I'm just excited. That's what it is. That's how it always will be. We've got a lot of awesome things coming. This concert's going to be amazing. These performers are phenomenal. Uh, I, it's a great center. It's, Demena classical music, super cool venue. We're gonna have some cool catering.
There
I
will be
got
cookies.
there
Yeah.
will be. I'm making haggis, so y'all can
Perfect.
get hype. Yeah,
It's cookies on it.
haggis cookies.
Yeah, I'm just excited. It's like, yeah, I don't know, my parents are coming into town, my partner's coming in, and like I get to have a piece premiered at like by some incredible musicians and at an incredible venue. And I think that it often feels like it lives up here and it lives in here a lot. And it's so funny to, be able to just have it come out of
Yeah.
yeah, of the metaphorical and literal, closet. And
Yeah.
and I think I'm really excited to have all of these people. It's like, I love listening to music with people I love. And I love listening to like being in a space together like that.
Yeah. And for me personally, I'm so excited to have a concert that I get to share with a collective. It's a new experience for me. And I think that like I'm just really excited to have more people to congratulate when the concert's over. Because there can always be an awkwardness when you're like, concert's over and people are like, oh my God, that was so great. And I'm like, thanks. But I getting to share in that with all of you is something that I'm really, really grateful for. And yeah. So thank you all so much for taking the time to join me on my podcast. Oh, and I also wanted to add that to everybody listening at home, that Murphy is also joining the podcast team. So they're also going to be running this podcast with me. They may be hosting. We haven't figured it out yet, but welcome Murphy to the Classical Schmassical team, as well as to the Mosaic Composers Collective. Yeah, so that's super exciting.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm super excited to get into it.
Yeah, it's going to be really great. So thank you again, all of you here and all of you at home for joining us here at Classical Schmassical. If you enjoyed this episode, there's definitely plenty more where it came from. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode, since they are coming out so sporadically, which is really great. And then if you would like to continue this conversation, feel free to join the Discord link in the description, or visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/classicalschmassical. With this particular discussion, you can also reach out at mosaicomposers.com. There's a contact page there, and we would love to hear from you. And remember, as always, stay classy and questionably classical.